Bernard Russell once said, "The only thing that will redeem mankind is cooperation." Keep this in mind as we discuss today Russia and China cooperation in building a research station on the moon. My name is Dr. David Oualaalou.
And my name is Dr. Ross Stewart.
And you are watching Geopolitics in Conflict. We are excited to announce we have a brand new membership where you have the chance to interact with us live every 2 weeks. We take a deeper dive into the topics that matter the most. If you are interested, please follow the link in the description below.
Well, David, cooperation is in the air.
Indeed.
It is with China and Russia in terms of first a space station and then a moon base. But you know who was left out?
Who?
The United States was left out.
Wow.
When they wouldn't allow China access to the International Space Station, and they started sanctioning Russia, Russia and China decided to cooperate. What do you make of all that?
Well, that's a very interesting proposal, as a matter of fact, between Moscow and Beijing, for the fact that now space is going to have borders. This is basically where it's going with this. It goes far beyond what we can just think of, because now this particular proposal, once it moves forward, it's going to have geopolitical ramifications, it's going to have military implication to it, and it's going to have economic dimensions to it.
Well, we're seeing real cooperation between countries that have had a lot of tension over many, many years. Matter of fact, centuries. And we now have the possibility of a cooperation to rain missiles down on any site in the world that they want, and to go after rare earth minerals that are rare moon minerals.
Well, that's one of the key, I'm glad you brought that up, Ross, is because there are some who argue, and based on some reading that I've done, that this cooperation between Russia and China is not only about challenging the United States' dominance in space regarding the ISS, the International Space Station, but rather is also mining for some minerals there like lithium.
Oh, you mean that stuff that's $25,000 a gram?
That is correct. So you can just see why it made more sense for China and Russia to cooperate, since the United States passed a law in Congress banning China from entering the ISS. So China said, sure, we might as well just build our own. And that's exactly what this proposal is all about.
And they have the technology and the scientists to pull it off.
And they do, and this seems like they are having major strides when it comes down to space exploration. As we discussed in last time in one of our videos about the launching of the satellites to Mars.
Yeah, that was a recent one. That was last month, wasn't it?
That is correct. It was recent, but it tells you how far and how quick they want to go ahead and establish their presence in space. Because if this lithium, mining for lithium is going to become the item under which countries who can be in space can get to, you can just see why China and Russia, they do not want to be left behind.
About the time that they have a joint venture on the moon, they're going to start taking out territory that they are claiming as their own.
Which means we will be looking at borders in the moon.
Borders on the moon.
Can you imagine that?
And so we're now engaged, the United States, and by the way, there's another player. The United States, Russia, and China are now in a land grab on another body in space.
Wow. To me, the way I interpret this, Ross, is the idea of that Russia and China, they do not want to submit to U.S. dominance in space. They like almost We've had it here on Earth. We're not going to have it in space either. And that's, to me, it's the long-term implications of what this proposal is all about.
You know, there's another player involved with this.
Who is that?
India.
Oh, whoever thought, right?
Well, you know, recently we were looking at a video of Silicon Valley and who are the engineers and scientists. Guess which two groups were overrepresented?
I would say China and India.
What do you know? Over 60% of the scientists and engineers there are from other countries or have their ancestry is from India or China. This is it's just astonishing. And now we see India emerging as a major power in space.
And they have allocated serious funding for that program.
Yeah.
I remember reading a couple of years ago about their sort of aspirations for launching their own satellites and moving into that realm of space. And even back then, I was asking myself, wow, with all the social issues they have and demographics and so forth, and yet they were able to allocate funding for space programs.
Looking at the world today is just astonishing in terms of who's doing what and who's capable of doing what.
Well, certainly this Russia and China cooperation will have a serious consequences.
And what we're seeing is more and more and more Russia-China cooperation as the U.S. sanctions both of them or puts tariffs on products and so on.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that one, Russ, because just for you to know, we're going to have a show about the recent visit of the Russia Prime Minister or Foreign Minister, that is Mr. Lavrov, to China. And the purpose of that visit was to cement that partnership between China and Russia. And we all can see where this is going. We're going to have a show on that, and we will air it out soon.
In my youth, President Ronald Reagan said, "Star Wars, we will defeat the Soviet Union with Star Wars." How do you see that playing today?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because at that time, Ronald Reagan was thinking in terms of military dimensions to space. Of course, it was nothing to be discussed about at the time because certain programs for the U.S. space programs were classified at the time, still to a degree, certain aspects of it, but the military dimensions to it was one of in the equation per se. What China's realizing, and Russia for that matter, they're like, you can't let the U.S. just dominate space altogether. We're going to have a presence there. And this is where I see this proposal going as to what is going to lead to the tensions between the U.S. and those two competitors, China and Russia.
Who do you see as the ultimate winner here? It's probably not any of those countries.
There will be no winner in this because you're going to now define the new borders on space. Well, it's space. It's, there are no borders. Now, all of a sudden, you start carving out space. No, this is my area where I can put my flag and dominate. This is my area where I can. You can just see it will lead to some tensions. Whether that tension is going to escalate to another level, I do not know, and it remains to be seen.
Well, there's a conclusion here, and that is that Russia, China, and India no longer want to be under the heavy influence of the United States, and they're breaking free in space. Let us know your thoughts and comments. Also, be sure to check out our other videos. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.
And as always, stay informed. Till next time. Bye-bye.